Hello everybody and welcome to today's session on how to create a literature search for your studies. Now, literature searching is the task of finding relevant information on a topic from the available research literature. And during the course of today's sessions, we are going to discover where to search, so how to identify and access relevant databases for your research, how to go about developing an efficient search strategy, and then taking that search strategy and creating a search in a database that is of relevance to your research. We are then going to look at some added functionality that will save you time, such as how to save a search and save some articles. And then finally, we're going to explore the options available to you when it comes to accessing the full text of a research paper. Now, throughout the session, I will be providing examples and giving some demonstrations, and I really do encourage you to pause the video and take the opportunity to practice throughout. So let's begin, and firstly, you're probably asking me, what are databases? So databases enable you to see what has been published in the area you are researching. Now, they contain detailed records of thousands of journal articles. Now, this is great for you as it means you don't have to search each journal individually or know all of the journals that are relevant in your field. Now, using individual databases instead of the general library search will bring you more relevant results, as databases tend to be subject specific. As you can see in the screen now, a database such as the Web of Science or Medline contains access to journals such as Nature and a whole host of other content such as conference papers, citation information, and they can be full text databases, or sometimes they just provide the abstract and index of a research paper. Now, I appreciate that databases can seem daunting to use and get to grips with, but you already have experience in using databases in your everyday life. So, for example, have you used Amazon recently, or perhaps Google? They're all databases, and you're all very capable and efficient searches in those databases. So, in their simplest form, a database is an online collection of information. So to give you an idea of the range of resources available to you, I have included a few on the screen now. Now, whilst in later demonstrations I will be using the databases provided by EBSCO, such as Medline, CINAHL, PsycArticles and PsycInfo, please don't restrict yourself to only those during the course of your research. Do consider other databases and have a look at their description. It tells you what their coverage is, and we'll look at that shortly, and consider why you might select certain databases depending on your topic of interest. We will walk through a range of search techniques today, and rest assured that all of those techniques will be available to you to use in any of the databases that you search. So now we have an idea of some of the big names in the database world and the fact that you're all competent and efficient searchers already. Let's identify how to access these library-specific databases. And the easiest way to go about this is to consult your library subject guide, which can be found at the link on the screen. Now, these guides are collections curated by experts to guide you to subject-specific resources for your topic of interest, and are designed to help you explore your subject area. So let's take a look at how to access that now. From the library homepage, under the first column for study and research support, you would like to take the link to subject guides. That will present you with another screen of a library subject guide for each department or school within the university. We are going to select Health and Social Care. And this is a good place if you're either unsure of where to begin with your research and want to discover the most relevant library resources for you. You can navigate this guide using the menu on the left hand side, so we know today that we're looking for databases that are relevant to us. And then it gives you an introduction to database searching. Some of the multidisciplinary databases, which cover a wide range of academic subjects, are listed on the first page. And you will note you can also select your cohort from this list, and then that will take you through to some recommended databases for your research, such as CINAHL, Medline, and so on. If you wish to go straight to a database and you know what you're looking for, you can consult the library's A to Z listing of databases, and once again this can be accessed from the library homepage. Looking at the second column for your resources, clicking on Databases and e-resources will give you the ability to search for a particular database, or use the drop-down box to select your subject, or navigate using the A to Z listing. And this might be useful if you need to access resources that might sit outside your main subject area and discipline. So now we know where to search and access our databases from, we need to create a plan. Now, databases can be huge and you need to be prepared and specific about what information you want to find. So it makes sense to plan your search before you start. So ask yourself, what information do I want to find out? So we need to think about the topic and the words you are going to use in your database search. So let's get started with planning your search. And in this example here, we are thinking about the topic you're researching and the words you can use for this search. Now this could be the topic of your subject more broadly, or the specific assignment question you've been given, and taking the time to plan now will certainly save you time in the long run. So in this example scenario here, we would start by filtering out any unnecessary words like the and what, and perhaps if there were instructions like discuss or analyze. So first of all, pick out your keywords and concepts from this or your own scenario, and for this example we would be focusing on telehealth and COVID-19 as our keywords. Now when we're thinking about keywords, we need to remember that different people can refer to the same concepts or ideas in very different ways. So just like with this illusion image, people can see the same thing in different ways. So when I look at this image, I see a young lady looking away. You may, however, see an older lady with a headscarf looking to the left. So what am I getting at here? Well, basically, as we all see things in different ways, we need to remember that we all refer to things in different ways too. Now this means it's crucial to think of synonyms or alternative terms or words for our key words. So synonyms are different words with the same meaning. And if we don't think of these alternative words, we can overly restrict our searches based purely on the terminology that we are using. So let's move on. We've identified our keywords, and now we're going to think about our synonyms or alternative terms for both telehealth and COVID-19, because searching only one word for your concept will not necessarily bring you all the results, and sometimes none at all. And we now understand that not everyone uses the same terminology for the same idea. So for telehealth, I've selected a few synonyms such as telemedicine and the various alternate ways of laying that out, mobile health, e-health, telecare, telepractice and so on. And the same with COVID-19, its various forms. Obviously there are lots more than what I've put on the screen there. And it's great to plan, to take this time, which will then make your actual search process a lot easier. So we're making good progress with starting and planning our search. We now know we need to search relevant databases and how to access those. We have identified our keywords from our scenario, and we then began to think about alternative terms or synonyms. So that's great. We've done a lot of work so far, so thank you, well done. We have the keywords, we have the synonyms, but now we need to think about how to use and combine these words to make an efficient search strategy. So next up, we're going to walk through some of the search techniques that enable you to combine your terms and some tips to narrow and broaden your searches based upon the results that you get. Importantly, taking the time to learn these techniques will make your searches more efficient and will save you time. First of all, we're going to look at something we call Boolean operators. They are very simply the Boolean operator and, or, and not. And these are really going to be key to any successful search that you ran, as they allow you to combine, broaden and exclude certain search terms. So let's take a look at the examples on the slide here. So for chocolate and cake, so using the Boolean AND operator, what does that mean? Well, by adding AND, we're telling the database that our search is only interested in results that mention both of those terms. So we're not interested in results about chocolate that don't mention cake, and we're not interested in cake unless it includes chocolate. So from the Venn diagram, you can see this will therefore reduce your number of results. Now this is really helpful, as it means you can make your results much more targeted and relevant. However, be a little cautious, as by excluding everything that doesn't include both words, you can overly restrict your search. The second operator we have is the Boolean operator OR. Now this is used to widen your search and enables you to search for synonyms within the same search. So following the example, again, searching for espresso or ristretto would tell the database you want results that include either or both of these terms. So it broadens your search out, but again, be wary with this, as using this too much can overly broaden your search and begin to introduce irrelevant results. Now the final operator we will mention today is the NOT operator, and this is probably used the least, but it's helpful for excluding words that may keep showing up in your results but which aren't relevant to your assignment or research. So for example, if you were researching the media but weren't interested in radio, you could include media, the operator NOT, radio in your search. So from the Venn diagram, you can see that this will also exclude any results that both mention media and radio, the middle section of the diagram. So be careful, as something that is relevant could be within this middle section. So there you have it, your three Boolean operators, and, or, not. Now let's apply that in practice. Once again, the Boolean AND is used to include all articles that contain both words within them. So to run this search, I would be expecting the terms COVID-19 and telehealth to be returned within my set of searches. Next up is the Boolean OR operator, which broadens out your search and is particularly useful when there are synonyms for a keyword or abbreviations. And if you aren't getting many results for your search, try to think of possible alternatives for your keywords that you can search for. So the example here, we would expect either articles to be returned that contain either telehealth or telemedicine, or both of those words together. And finally, NOT is used to exclude a word or a phrase from your search results, and it's wise to use this operator sparingly though, as you may end up eliminating relevant results. So for example, if we were interested in hand washing but not the term PPE, we could use the NOT operator to state that, and this would ensure that results include only one of the words but not the other. We also have a few other search techniques that are going to be very useful for you, the first of which is the ability to run a phrase search. So that simply means using quotation marks around a term to ensure that your terms appear as a phrase, thus narrowing your search only to where the terms appear together, making your results more relevant. And finally, we have something called truncation, which is the use of the asterisk symbol to allow databases to look for related relevant words that you do not have to type in for yourself. So in the example on the screen, if I was to search for therap with the asterisk symbol, my results would also return results that in some way use the terms therapy, therapist, therapies, therapeutically, and so on and so forth. Now this can be very useful to save you a bit of time and retrieve variations on spelling and word endings that you may not be aware of, and this is using the asterisk symbol. We will look at some examples and guide you through the process of how these work in action very, very shortly. Now, to start our search, we need to access one of our databases, and as you will recall from earlier, we can either navigate directly to the database in question or via our subject guide, which I'm going to do now, selecting Health and Social Care, and then the Databases tab, which will allow us to select our cohort and then begin to access our databases. Now it's important that you access resources through the library both when you're on and off campus, to ensure that you are granted full access to that particular resource, as these are paid for subscriptions from the library. So I'm going to click on CINAHL, and what it will do is it will ask me to log in if I haven't already done so, which I have today, and then it gives me the ability to select the database that I want to search. So CINAHL Ultimate, by ticking the box and scrolling to the top of the page, I will then click Continue. And this is our homepage for searching CINAHL. As you can see from the top here, we are searching CINAHL Ultimate. Now, before we start our search, I wanted to give you a bit of orientation about what we're looking at. So to the right of the search box, you have the ability to specify where it is you are looking for your keywords. So the default option is always listed as Select a Field Optional, which means that it's searching for your keyword in the title, the abstract, and the list of subjects. Now, if you want to be a bit more specific, you could select Author or Title or Abstract, and very simply it is a case of clicking on the drop down box to select the option which is best for you. As a general rule, I tend to start quite broadly by leaving it at the default option, and then I can refine further by limiting my search to perhaps either title or abstract. You also have the ability to add some other databases to your search. At the moment, again, we're searching CINAHL. If I click Choose Databases, it will give me a list of other databases that I can combine with this search. So you may wish to have a look at the overview for each database by clicking on the little arrow, which will expand and provide you with the coverage, so what it is intending to search. So from my example today, I'm going to continue with CINAHL. I'm going to use Medline. I'm going to use one of the APA ones, PsycInfo, and another one, PsycArticles. But once again, have a look to see if there are any others on that list that are relevant to you and you would like to use in your search. Once I'm happy with my selection, I click on OK, and you will note that the list of databases has been updated to include the fact that I am searching now 4 databases instead of 1, which is going to make my life a bit easier because I don't have to search one database after another and another and another. So this is a very good starting point for my literature search. So first of all, I wanted to give you a demonstration of some of the techniques that we discussed earlier. So if I search for COVID-19 on its own, across those 4 databases, we're going to get a lot of results, and you can see that by reviewing the search history. You can see S1 is search 1, the terms that I've entered, so COVID-19, and the number of results that I've got, which is a large number of results. If I wanted to, I could then use the AND operator, which you can see is selected by default, and include the term telehealth from my example. As you can see, the database is quite helpful and it gives me some predictive search terms for me to choose. Once I'm happy with my selection, if I click search again, my search history will update to present me with S2 or search 2, the search terms that I've used, including the fact that I've used the Boolean AND operator, and that has combined my 2 terms and given me less results, but which are more focused. So I have now much fewer results, but they're likely to be more relevant to the search query that I'm entering. If you need to run another search, it's good practice to press the clear button beneath the search bar rather than using the backspace. Another example, using a different operator, I'm going to first search for telemedicine, and then I'm going to add the search term telehealth. Now I could either use the drop down box and enter that term there, or if I clear that, I could use the first box and then actually type in the operator, as you can see is predicted there, or that can be in uppercase or lowercase. It won't have any impact on your search results. I'm going to choose the first one. The reason I prefer that is it keeps it neat and tidy in one search box, because if I have a lot of synonyms or terms over time, I can add more boxes. It just becomes a bit unwieldy for me. It's personal preference, you'll get the same results. So I'm going to run that search now, and the OR operator is going to give me more results. It's going to broaden my search terms out. as you can see, telemedicine compared to telemedicine or telehealth has given me a few more 1,000 results. I'm going to clear that once again, and this time I'm going to search for hand washing, and I'm going to use the quotation marks this time for a phrase search, as I want that term to be matched exactly in my search results. And this time I am going to use the drop down box and state not PPE. Obviously I could broaden that out to include the fact that I wanted to include the abbreviation and the full term, and once again for an exact phrase match I could use the quotation marks. So this is a demonstration of using the not operator, and you will see once again the search history is updated and it's very clearly outlining the fact that I'm using the not operator to exclude certain terms. So what I'd like to do now is just to skip back to our example scenario, having identified our keywords and then moved on to identify alternative terms or synonyms. We're going to take that, now that we know the databases we're searching and the search techniques available to us, and run a search within our database. So firstly, I'm going to enter my first set of keywords related to COVID-19 using the OR operator, phrase searching, and then run a search. I will then get in the habit of clearing that search and then entering my second concept and associated keywords related to telemedicine or telehealth. And as you can see there, I've used the OR operator to discover alternative terms, or related terms should I say, as well as the truncation, so telemedicine, and there is some phrase searching there as well for electronic health. So I'm going to run that search, and you can see after each search that I run, the search history is updated. Clear my search. So now I'm looking at search 6 and search 7, and I'd like to combine those two separate searches at the moment, so I can do so by clicking the box next to searches 6 and 7. And we now know that to combine two different searches we can use the AND operator. So I'm going to click on the search with AND operator. Now this gives me a new search, which is S8 or search 8, and it says very clearly that I've combined search 6 and 7, and that's giving me a much more manageable result to the right hand side there. And the reason that we are doing this very systematically and clearly is that it is an expectation for you to present your searches in a search table and for your search terms and results to be reproducible. So using the search history in this way will allow us to then create a search table at the end of this process very clearly, as we will have our keywords and search result numbers for each concept. So what I usually then do is to scroll down the page and begin looking at my results, and you will notice that it is organized by the newest papers appearing at the top. It's good practice to use that drop down box and click on relevant. You will still get the same number of results, but it should re-rank those numbers to present you with the most relevant papers based on the keywords that you have entered. So once I scroll down the page again, you can see my keywords are starting to be picked up where we're searching. So in the title, in the abstract, and also in the list of subjects, and any of your keywords are indicated in bold. So we would now begin the process of reviewing and having a look at our results to identify how relevant they are, and then having a look at the title and the abstract and the list of subjects, perhaps identifying some additional keywords that you haven't used that might be useful for your future searches. So searching is very much a case of trial and error. It's best to start broadly and then become more focused in your searches. So if there was a term that I hadn't used that I wanted to include, I could then include it in my next search and the search after that, until you refine your searches and you're quite happy with the results that you are returning. Now, if you wanted to review any of the papers that you see listed here, you'll be looking for something that says full text. So by clicking on that link As we are already signed in, that will take you through to the full text of the paper in question. And later on, we will cover what to do when that link doesn't appear to get access to the research. As you search and discover relevant papers, you may also wish to consider looking at the reference list of any key papers as a way to discover other authors or research that is of interest to you. So once you're happy with your search results, and only at that point, you can then consider the refinements, the refine results options on the left-hand side. And these will allow you to apply your inclusion or exclusion criteria to your current set of results. One of the first options you may consider is the ability to limit your research to a particular date range only if you have a reason and you can justify why you are going to do that, not just sufficient to say I'm adjusting it because I need to get less results. So you can use the slider and that will update your results based on the date range indicated on that page. Other filters I think are quite straightforward in terms of the type of material that you're looking to get back, such as research from academic journals and so on, a publication, and the other ones that we most frequently use are language, perhaps the age or the gender of participants in the study, but also the ability to limit to geography. Once again, I would only apply those limiters once you're happy with the results that you are returning from your keyword searches. Now, when reviewing your search history, note that you have the ability to reorder the search history here by clicking on Search ID. So at the moment, my final search appears at the top. If I click on Search ID, that will put Search 1 at the top. And this is quite useful when it comes to creating your search table, because you can then press Print Search History, and it will present you with a nicely formatted search table of sorts that you'll have to do a little bit of work with, but the main points are there: your first search, your terms, and the results that you've got. So that's a handy tip to save you a bit of time when it comes to creating your search table. Now, once you have done some searches, you may want to save them so that you can access them later and rerun them at a later date so that you don't have to enter your keywords and your filters all over again, and you perhaps have some articles that you would like to save and review later on, and this is all possible via a personal space within the database in question. So let's have a look at how you can utilize that space. After you've run some searches, you may consider that you want to save all of your searches or just a few. So if I click Select All and then Save Searches or Alerts, it will then give you the ability to name your search, which is really important, as over time you will end up with a lot of searches and it become quite confusing as to which one is the one you're looking for. You can leave everything else to its default setting other than name it. Clicking on Save will then bring up a screen saying that it has been successful, and once I click on Continue, it will take us through to our bookmarks area within our account. And to access that in the future, along the banner at the top, you can see it says Folder, and that's where we are now. And you will see here on the left hand side I have 9 saved searches, and you can see the one that I have just saved is number 3. So if I was to log out of this session and come back later today, in a day's or a week, a month time, I could click on my folder, go to my saved searches, and then click on Retrieve Saved Search, which would rerun that search. Now, to go back to my current searches, I'm going to click on the back link. But that's one way of saving your searches, by selecting the appropriate ones or all of them and clicking on Save Searches. If you wish to save individual articles, so perhaps you're screening your results and identifying which one of those are relevant or not, or you just want to read a certain piece of research later on, you will notice to the right of each title there is a blue folder, and I could simply click on that folder, and I have a few subfolders set up. By selecting my demo folder, you can see that that entry has gone golden, so that indicates that that is in your saved bookmarks or folder area, and be quite useful when you're running multiple searches to identify whether you have seen that result before. So if I wanted to view the papers that I had saved You would scroll to the top of the page and click on Folder, and this time I would be looking for me, because I've set up some custom folders, in my demo folder, which is at the bottom there. Clicking on Articles would then present me with the articles that I've saved in my folder. Now for you, if you haven't already set up a folder in the past, they would appear under your articles link at the very top. So that's a really neat way to save time for you to both save your searches and save any articles that are of interest to you. Now sometimes accessing the full text can be quite a frustrating experience, and you may have come across a similar looking screen in the past where it asks you to rent or buy an article and kindly enter your credit card details. Now we certainly do not want you to do that. There are ways to check whether we have access to a certain article, and indeed to request it if we don't. Now the first tool I wanted to talk to you about was one of our browser extensions that make this process a lot more seamless. Now this particular one is called libkey nomad, and it's available on most browsers, and to access that you would need to go to the home page of the library and click on the link indicated there. So under the central column, by clicking on the link, it would take you through to some information about what these plugins are, what's available, and how they work. I personally prefer libkey, but they both work in a very similar way, and you can install both without any conflict. It gives you the link to the option to download this particular browser extension from the store of which your browser is utilizing. So once you've installed the browser extension, you will see at the very top right hand corner the little icon for the one that you've installed, and that will run in the background. You won't know it's there until you come to the point where you need to access a paper, and this check will be performed in the background without you knowing, and you can see on the bottom left hand corner it says download PDF University of Essex. So by clicking on that, it should take me through to the article in question, and it says access provided by the University of Essex. So these are great tools. They're going to save you a whole heap of time, and I really do encourage you to install them now, and it will really improve your research workflow when it comes to accessing the full text. Now what happens, you ask me, when we cannot give you immediate access to a piece of research? That's undoubtedly going to happen, but there is a process in place to help you, and that is simply called request a resource. So once again, from the home page of the library, under the central column, we have the link for request a resource, and what you'll be looking for is our interlibrary loan service. That's the quickest way of getting access to content. You'll see here at the top to submit an interlibrary loan request, which is where we go to another library and we ask them to provide us with a copy of a book, a chapter of the book, or in most cases for you, a copy of an article directly to us, which we then send to you for you to keep forever, and there is no cost associated with that at all, and please do enter as many as you require. Clicking on the link will take you through to the form that you need to fill in to request your items. So don't give up on accessing a piece of research just because at first glance we don't have immediate access to it. There are ways for you to request it. Now this is a question I often get asked. I've tried a couple of searches, but I'm not getting anywhere. I'm getting too few results, or I'm getting too many results. What happens, and where do we go from here? I would say do not give up, and remember earlier, searching is a case of trial and error, the importance of planning. And I realize it can be quite a frustrating experience, the process of searching for information, but what you perhaps don't realize is that it may take dozens of searches to yield helpful results. So don't give up, don't lose focus, have a break, go for a walk, have a cup of tea or coffee, and come back to it, and then employ the search techniques and strategies that we've talked about today, and I assure you that you will find results that you are looking for. That leads me on to my top tips when it comes to searching, and if I've mentioned this once, I've mentioned this several times. It is the importance of planning your search. It's really key to not only wasting time in the longer term, but actually finding relevant results that are useful for you. And when you're reviewing your results, look for keywords that you haven't used. Try different searches depending on the results that you get. It's a little bit like detective work. It's about reviewing and screening those results and then re-engineering your search. Don't just rely on one resource. So we've looked at a few databases today, but there are many more out there, and it's really key to choose the ones that are most appropriate for your topic. The research you find will probably lead you to other relevant material, so check the reference list, check key authors output, and I'm sure you will find more. And really, to allow plenty of time, I realize that searching is but one part of the process for you, so you are going to need to ensure that you factor in sufficient time to run your searches, to review your papers, and progress with your research. If you want some more help and you want some support, please do go to the Health and Social Care Guide, and there is a dedicated section of that guide under Search Skills where you can review this video again and also use the literature search step-by-step guidance, which will break down the whole process of literature searching with some useful videos and examples for you to progress through. There are a variety of ways that you can get in contact with us. We have a live chat service available via the homepage of the library, or you can utilize our contact us details or book an appointment with a librarian. To access all of our contact details, at the very top page of our homepage, you can click on Contact Us. And there will outline the range of options you have available to get in contact with the team at the library. So that was an introduction to searching databases. I hope you found it useful, and I really do encourage you to have a go for yourselves and explore the databases, try different searches, try the different search techniques, and see how you get on. Thanks again for listening today, and I wish you every success with your future searches.